Hi, I'm Glenn Simpson, and I've collected comic books for over 40 years, and now I'm showing off my collection one box at a time. Today, we're looking at box number 14. We're going to finish up Aquaman. We've got some astonishing, we've got a few other things, and I hope you enjoy it. Please like, comment, and subscribe to let me know how things are going, particularly if there's anything in between the books that I show that you'd like to see. And, well, it's Father's Day, and I've got a big daddy of a collection, so let's go. All right, here we go. We're also trying something new with the lighting, so let's see how this goes. Anyway, um, we start with Aquaman, Sword of Atlantis. This was a continuation of one of the previous Aquaman series, but Kurt Busiek and Butch Guice took over and presented what was the son of Aquaman, or an Arthur Curry who didn't know where he came from, that kind of thing, and he had a sword, thus Sword of Atlantis. And that extends through number 48, Day of the Fisherman, fighting the classic Aquaman villain Fisherman. We've got issue 49 of that series, and then that ended with issue 57, and that character, or that arc, or whatever, that would extend also into the Brightest Day series. Then we've got Aquaman, The Becoming, with the new version of Aquaman, following the trend of giving the younger guys the full man name, and give them a chance to just to create an audience for themselves. And so that was issue 1, and that extends through issue 6 right there. Let me get you a little bit. You're a little high there. There we go. And we had Mira, a little bit of Black Panther ideas there too. Just kind of kind of reminds me of that. Then we have Aquaman, Time and Tide. This was a kind of a re-origin issue after the crisis, just giving an idea of what his new origins are. Peter David, again, writing that. And that extends to issue 4, fighting Ocean Master. Really is Ocean Master this time. We've got Aquaman from a few years ago. The two teaming up there and dealing with some politics in Atlantis, and that extended through Aquaman number 6. We got Tempest, we got Tula, Aquagirl. At this point, it's almost nobody died in Crisis. Let's see, we've got just the first issue of Arak, Son of Thunder, series by Roy Thomas, who was a big Marvel guy who had come over to DC, and this is one of the series that he wanted to do. And so it's kind of a sword and sorcery kind of guy. Then we've got Aramis. So this was an independent title spinning out of the Southern Knights. This is a teenage kid with magical powers, black and white. I was a big Southern Knights fan. As you can tell from my accent, I am in the South, and I thought that Southern Knights was pretty cool. So that's issues 1 through 3 of that. We've got Araña, the Heart of the Spider. This was a spider-based character that wasn't originally tied directly into Spider-Man, but we'll eventually get there. But we have issue 1, and we go through issue 4. I'm not saying Spider-Man didn't guest star. I'm just saying, she wasn't part of the family per se. And then we've got issue 5. and it was the Spider Guild versus the Wasp Guild or something like that. And that ends with issue 12. And again, she would end up showing up in some of the Spider-Verse stuff later. Then we have this Archangel one-shot. Beauty of a shot there. And right there. And we've got a random issue that I picked up at some point of Archer and Armstrong. Right there, issue 11. With like that. And we have the Ares miniseries. For a while there, Ares was kind of, running around similar to Thor, acting as a good guy or anti-hero. And so he had a 5-issue series. That's issue 1. And that extends through issue number 5. And we've got one of the recent DC one-shots, kind of new talent tryouts, that kind of thing. Are You Afraid of Darkseid? And then we've got Argus, one of the characters that came out of the line of DC annuals, where each annual introduced a new hero, and this guy was introduced in the Flash annual of that month, of that year, and he went on to not really show up much, but he did get this miniseries. So that's issue 1, and that extends through issue 6 there. Then again, another series that I have all of. I'm going to try to get some more of it, but Arion, Lord of Atlantis. We've got issue 1 of that here, and then I've got this pack goes through issue 5. Orion was a magician in ancient Atlantis, for those who are not familiar. And it kind of jumps to issue 16. And I've got 16 through 19 of Orion. Then I've got the miniseries that kind of brought Orion back later on, and then so titled Orion the Immortal, and it's a 6-issue series, 6-issue miniseries, art by this is who is this? I don't know. I don't like this art, but anyway, and that extended through issue 6, guest starring Power Girl. After the crisis, they want Superman to be the only Kryptonian, so what's Power Girl? So they tie her into ancient Atlantis and Orion, so therefore if he shows up, then they're gonna have her guest star there as well. Then we have Aristocratic, Extraterrestrial, Time-Traveling Thieves. This is one of those miniseries back in the 80s that was trying to cash in a little on the success of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This was about a couple of aliens who were notorious thieves, and they had a time-traveling machine, etc., as you can tell from the title. So in their first issue, they meet the Southern Knights that I mentioned earlier, which was exciting for me. And they're, of course, all published by the same company. So I've got the first issue of that through issue 7. I don't think that's the last issue, but it's close to the last issue of X-Thieves. Wound up being the abbreviation for that title. But they had started off in a 1-issue micro series that introduced the characters and who they were and what they did. Then there was a series called Arkham Manor, which I don't have, but I did get the Endgame one-shot that was running through several of the Batman titles at that time for that series. But pretty creepy cover. Then we get into some Armageddon stuff. We've got Armageddon Inferno, Waverider from the Armageddon 2001 annuals, having some stuff going on. Lots of different characters showing up there. Got issue number 1 through issue number 4. I believe this would be the issue where the Justice Society ventures into Ragnarok to keep the world from ending, and that was a good way they felt to get rid of the Justice Society, because at the time they didn't want to have them around. So there you go, issue 4 of that. Also around that time, there were just a series of these Armageddon this, Armageddon that. And so this one was Captain Atom, who was originally supposed to be Waverider, and then they changed their mind, going up against Hank Hall, previously Hawk, now Monarch. I'm sorry, he was supposed to be Monarch, but they changed their mind and made Hank Hall Monarch. And so, interestingly enough, they're having the two fight. And it's kind of a time travel thing going on there. And that gets resolved in Armageddon, the Alien Agenda, issue number 4. The one that started it all, Armageddon 2001. These is 2 issues, kind of bookending all the stuff that went on in the annuals. And I had mentioned in a previous video what the whole story is around Armageddon 2001. But this guy was searching for a future hero, or a hero of the past that was going to become Monarch. And it wound up being Hank Hall, aka Hawk of Hawk and Dove, which was revealed in Armageddon 2001, number 2. There. Even though Hawk is in the picture, because they changed their mind about who it was going to be, because it was going to be Captain Atom. But then they changed their mind, because people found out that was the reason to change the whole story. Armor Hunters. I don't have a lot of Valiant, but picked this up at some point. Cool cover. Got this. It's one of those plastic covers, and it's pretty cool. Armor Wars. This is from the 2015 Secret Wars, where they did a lot of miniseries that were named the same thing as classic Marvel storylines, and just found new stories to tell that kind of sounded like that. So this is a whole world filled with people who wear armor, and they go to war with each other. And that extends through issue number 5, right there. One issue of Arrow, just because I love superheroes. So from Malibu Comics, one of their original heroes, characters from the pages of Protectors. You got this Arrow guy, and I don't think it's a very particularly good book, but hey, I like superheroes. And then we've got one issue of a tie-in to the Arrow TV show that was free, and I picked that up in a $1 box or something at some point. That we've got Arsenal, the sidekick to Green Arrow, went by Arsenal as a code name for a while. Got Black Canary, written by Devin Grayson, who was a big DC writer for a while, and this is him going solo. And that's, you got issue 1, and that goes through issue 4. Interesting art this guy has. I mean, I don't know why is his mouth wide open? What's he doing? Is he yelling? Hey, listen to me. You know, I don't know. But Arsenal number 4. Then we have a one-shot Arsenal special story dealing with some stuff going on. This was later on in the New Teen Titans timeline that he's wearing that costume. And we've got Artemis Requiem, which is actually interesting because once Arsenal will team up with with Artemis in the Outlaws later on. But we have Artemis as which was a Wonder Woman spin-off character. She was like Wonder Woman but mean, and this was a solo series for her, issue number 1 through issue number 6 of that. Then a fairly recent one-shot, Artemis Wanted. She's on the run from law enforcement, and so we have her showing up here. We have a spin-off of Guardians of the Galaxy as Guardians of the Galaxy, which I think is a delightful play on words, and just some Thor spin-off characters here teaming up to do some stuff. I've got, that's issue 1 of that. Adam's art, lovely. We've got issue 5 of that. Stan Lee, R.I.P. That includes Throg, a second frog, an actual frog who gets the powers of Thor, rather than Thor being turned into a frog. Let's see, we've got, get him to not slide around. As Guardians of the Galaxy 6. Got Loki showing up there. And that ended with As Guardians of the Galaxy 10, which was part of the War of the Realms crossover, which was a pretty good crossover. Right there. I have this single Wizard magazine used to put out these little mini comics, and this one is for Ash, which was a character kind of owned by Joe Quesada for a different comic book company. And so I've got that one issue of Ash. Then we go to Askani'son. If you remember the Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix that we talked about in a previous video, this was actually preceded that, and it is the character of Cable growing up in his weird alternate future, and how in the adventures he goes through as he becomes Cable. And that extends through issue number 4. Right there. We've got the Amalgam one-shot for Assassins, where various DC and Marvel characters get combined into single characters, and I am drawing a blank on, I think there's some Ravager there, there's some Elektra there, there's some Catwoman in there. I'd have to think about who was being amalgamated with who there, but they are called Assassins. We've got this Assault on New Olympus. It was part of a storyline that was going on in the Incredible Hercules book, and for some reason they decided to do this as a one-shot. I'm not sure why they did that, but it's got it's Amazing Spider-Man, it's got Agents of Atlas, but technically the title of the book, the one-shot, is Assault on New Olympus. Then we've got Astonishing Ant-Man. We're into Astonishing now. Astonishing Ant-Man number 1 from his recent series. And that goes to Astonishing Ant-Man number 5. He's trying to help out the new Giant Man there. We've got this special issue of number 6. This is the first time we have Cassie Lang as Stature, which is her, I think, as her, superhero title name. And then we've got Astonishing Ant-Man number 7. Ant-Man is, of course, hanging out with the Grizzly, which is hilarious. And that continues into Astonishing Ant-Man 13. Father and daughter having a quiet moment on the beach. Then we've got this Astonishing Iceman miniseries from a couple of years ago. Iceman. This is coming out of the Krakoa era. And that ended with Astonishing Iceman number 5. Then we go to Astonishing Spider-Man and Wolverine. Mini-series they shared with some really funny time travel elements to it, if I remember correctly. If you're into that sort of thing, it had a lot of good humor. And that ran through issue number 6. I've got a classic Astonishing Tales featuring Deathlock, the Demolisher, issue number 34. Right there. I've got that's out of order. Number 33. Is that 30? Yeah, I'll have to fix that. There's 33. And then, presumably, 34 is not in this pack. And then it goes to, but it does go to 36. So, I'll have to fix that in a bit. And then we go to Astonishing Tales, sort of second series. This is a mini-series that was I think these were all stories that had been offered in a digital format the first time, and so now they were being presented in in print. And we have issue 1 of that all the way through issue 6 of that Astonishing Tales series. Then we have the Astonishing X-Men. This is the first series from the Age of Apocalypse, from when, the alternate present of that. And that's issue 1, going through issue 4. And then we have this just short next Astonishing X-Men series. We've got, interestingly, both Cable and X-Man on this team, as well as their quote-unquote parents, Cyclops and Phoenix, and Astonishing X-Men number 1. And that extended through issue 3. And this is when they're fighting this mysterious character, Death, who, spoiler alert, is Wolverine. Then we get to the somewhat more popular Astonishing X-Men series, written by Joss Whedon of Buffy the Vampire and Serenity fame, Firefly. And he did a full run of X-Men comics, and with art by John Cassaday, who recently passed as well. And that's issue 1. We go through issue number 5 of that series. We've got issue number 6. Interesting view of Kitty Pryde and Wolverine. That pack goes through issue 10. That's kind of a wild cover. I don't know if that's a really art or if that's a photo cover. We've got, they're introducing Cassandra Nova somewhere in here, that was seen in the Deadpool and Wolverine series. But then we got issue 11 of Astonishing X-Men. This is also the one where Beast is showing up in his cat form. I don't think he actually begins that way here. We've got Astonishing X-Men number 18. The White Queen having a bit of an identity crisis. Right there. We've got Astonishing X-Men 19. Kind of a sideways sort of thing. Right there. And that goes through Astonishing X-Men number 26. Mark Brooke, or forget the name of that artist. But they do really cool stuff. I think that's Simone Bianchi. Or at least I said the interior artist. Maybe that's wrong. Don't quote me on that. Anyway, pretty cool. Beast beauty cover there. We've got Astonishing X-Men 27 with Wolverine, Cyclops, right there. Got Astonishing X-Men number 34. Cool cover there with Storm. She's fighting off the some aliens there, the Brood. That continues to number 35. Right there. One of those classic head in the middle screaming, everybody bursting out of it covers that they do every once in a while. Art by Phil Jimenez. He's one of my favorites. We jump to Astonishing 42. There was a point here where they were jumping back and forth between two storylines in each issue. So like the even numbered issues had one storyline and the odd had another. And down to the art team and everything. But this is, I think, where we met. We got Brew, the baby Brood mutant who isn't mean and nasty like the rest of the Brood. Here's a much desired Art Adams girly cover, doing what he does best. This time on the White Queen. This is a higher selling issue right there, for two obvious reasons. Astonishing X-Men 44. Right there. I think there's some alternate timeline stuff going on right there. Some loving between Storm and Cyclops. Then we jump into Astonishing X-Men 48. Got a bit of a restructure of the team there. More consistency. We got this person, this Shi'ar, coming, Warbird, I think. Came to Earth, hung out with the X-Men, North Star, Karma, that kind of thing. And we go to issue 49. Some bad guys that our team is having to fight. Through 52. Karma lost a leg at some point, so she has to keep it tuned up. I guess can't remember when the wedding issue is. That might be in the middle here. But that's that. 53. Got Wolverine dealing with a bomb. Then we jump to issue 60. Had a kind of a three-way team up between Astonishing and the Exterminators and the Exiles, something like that, going on in that issue. So lots of multiverse stuff in the team up there, which continues in in issue 61. Kind of got our Wolverine meeting an alternate Jean Grey who lost her Wolverine, so they get to have a little moment there. And that series ends with number 68 right there. Then they have a single annual featuring the team on the cover there. And we go to the next Astonishing X-Men with Old Man Logan, the alternate universe Wolverine from a relative future who came to the regular 616. Got issue 1 there, extending through Astonishing X-Men number 8. So we've got some Psylocke going up against another Psychic there. Issue 9, Astonishing X-Men right there. Phantom X showing up with no mask on, which is rare. Got Gambit with a weird, different suit. Got Old Man Logan. And that series ends with, I think that they had switched to a slightly different team that Havoc was leading, but he didn't manage to stay around very long. But we've got this really, really cool Havoc cover on this issue. If you're a Havoc fan, you will want that. A couple little odds and ends from that series. We've got Astonishing X-Men Ghost Boxes. They were having a storyline that they branched off into a different, just a little 2-issue series. There's the issue 1 and issue 2 of that. There was an annual. Oh, this box is kind of messed up. That should go before Ghost Boxes. I'll fix that just now. And from that last series, got tucked into the wrong spot. Got this Astonishing X-Men sketchbook, which was kind of a free giveaway with Amazing X-Men sketchbook, and just decisions were made, so we were putting it under Astonishing X-Men sketchbook in this collection. Then we got Astonishing X-Men Xenogenesis, which was a mini-series. Kara Andrews writing and drawing, taking a bit more of a stylistic approach to the artwork on the team. White Queen with some booty, and that continued through issue 5 on that, with some evil mutant babies or something. That. Then we've got this little pack of, back in the day, back in the 70s, early 80s, you had Atari, the game system, and they sold individual games, which came in individual packages, and so they created a storyline and put out little comics that went in each box with the game, with the, of course, idea that you should collect them all. Oh, sorry, this is backwards too. What a terrible box this is. So that's issue 1, and I've got that through issue 5. Each one came in a separate game system. And then later they did a regular comic called Atari Force that was set in its own universe. It was set in the future relative to that other series, because this is the son of one of the guys that was young in the other series. This was actually a really good series. It was outer space, aliens and multiversal travel, and all kinds of really cool stuff in this. So well loved by people of my generation. That's issue 1 through issue 4. That, and then we've got issue 5. We've got Pack Rat. We've got Dart. We've got Babe. We don't have the Hucka yet. Issue 5 of that. We've got issue 8. Babe wanna go home. Right there. Babe was pretty much indestructible, so in issue 9, Dart learning a massive surprise. And issue 12 with Commander Chance, whatever his name was, learning who is the Dark Destroyer. There. Oh, Champion. That was it. Martin Champion. And who is the Dark Destroyer? Well, it's Martin Champion. What? What's going on, man? Right there. Got 16 right there. We had Taz, who we thought was a boy until he gave birth. And then had Tazlings. That. And issue 17. Black Jack, no C in the Jack part, dealing with the Taslings. And that Sin series ends with issue 20. Martin Champion getting in trouble for stealing the ship that they've been traveling around in. And he gets the verdict. And there was, a couple of years later, an Atari Force special that had some little one-shot stories with the characters. Little John Byrne art on there. Very special. And so that is all for this box. All right, that's it. Next time, we're going to look at box 15. We're going to start with A-Team and some Atom, and eventually get our way into the thick of the Avengers. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you'll keep coming back. Thanks very much for your time. Have a great day.